Hey guys, so for those of you who do not know Kadie, she is an 11-year-old mare. She's maybe 15.3 or 15.2 hands. I don't own her. I was riding her for a friend for my Christmas holidays because she was away in America and I had loads of time, so I rode her for about 3 weeks. This was my first day riding her. You can see she's pretty fresh. So basically what I was doing for the 3 weeks was a bit of a flatwork boot camp. I wanted to really just, get her going a little bit more round, more stretching over her back and stretching downwards. She's just quite a tense horse. Some horses just naturally are. And because she's older, it does take a while to retrain those muscles. So you can see she has a lot of muscle underneath her neck. You can see it actually kind of bulge outwards. So basically you don't want horses to have muscle there. You want it on their top line, over the top of their neck and the top of their back. And you can build this up by working them long and low, making sure you have lots of leg on so they're pushing from behind and working over their back. In this first clip, I actually jump her, but I don't jump her for the rest of the month she was here because I was literally just concentrating on the flat work. Although I would have liked to have jumped her because I'd say her jump would improve as her flat work improves. So you can see here in the canter, she doesn't have her head up as much, but she tucks her head in. So you can see her neck looks extremely short, even though it actually isn't that short when she's just standing still. So what she does is she either puts her head up in the air or she tucks her nose in and nose into like her neck. So here in this walk clip, this is where I would like her neck stretching down. You can see her neck looks twice as long. But these walk to trot transitions just get her so excited and stressed out. You can see I'm trying to pet her, I'm talking to her, trying to relax her. I don't have any contact. I just want her to stretch her neck out, but she's like, no. Like she was nearly headbutting me here. So yeah, she's just quite tense. But this was the starting point and she does improve. Although she's not perfect, by the end she makes some good steps. I wish I could have had her for longer, but we had to go back to college, unfortunately. So you can see sometimes here she doesn't even really drop her head, she just tucks her head in. So it's still not really what you want, because I want her to stretch over her back and her neck. And she has lots of muscle at the top of her neck, but almost none just in front of her withers, because that part of her neck never gets stretched. It's always very tight there. So here I'm cantering on the right rein now. Her canter is a little bit better than her trot, just that she's not throwing her head up as much, but she's still quite tight and not really using herself as well as she could be. So here what I'm doing is I'm putting my inside leg on and I'm taking the contact with my hand, and then when she gives, I give with my inside hand as a reward. So it's all pressure and release. I put pressure on it, and then when she relaxes, I'll give the pressure. So then she actually learns that pressure and contact is actually a nice thing, in that she then relaxes and it feels good, if you know what I mean. So here I'm just giving her a few jumps. She's a really, really nice jumper. She jumps 110, 120s with her owner. And she's a little speed demon, as I'm sure you could have guessed. She almost always places. She's class. But I think it'll just be a lot easier when you're able to move the horse and they're a little bit softer when you're jumping. It just really helps finding strides, and negotiating a course is a lot easier when you have a few more buttons. So you can see here she jumps, this is about a meter 10, and she jumps it easy peasy. It's no problem to her. This is why I didn't really jump her, because there's absolutely nothing wrong with her jumping. It's the flat work part she needs more work on. So this was the next day. I started lunging her. I lunged her for about a week. I'm lunging her with this lunging aid. It's called Vienna reins. You can have the top part up to where the D-ring would be, but I have it to her side to encourage her to work lower, because when I had it up at the D-ring, she just brought her neck in and shrunk her neck in really tight, and she wasn't really stretching at all. So I put it on the side. I'm doing some trotting pulls. You can see trotting pulls, they just stretch afterwards. It's a really, really good tool to get them to stretch, because they kind of look down, they have to stretch over the pulls, they're stretching their back. It's really helpful. And if you have a horse that might not really like to stretch too much, I would really recommend it. Another bit of a bad habit she had was that on the lunge she would turn her head to the outside. It was very, very frustrating, because she would, just when she gives, sometimes she would just turn her head to the outside, and then I have to take back the contact on the lunge rope, and she put her head back up again, and she would be looking around her, not concentrating at all. She just doesn't really think about what you want. She's just kind of in her own world, looking around, sussing the place out. But I want her to concentrate on me and think about what I'm asking her to do. So here I have you can see I have the Vienna reins up the top of the D-ring, but she's still letting her neck out. She's not tucking her neck in like she was. And the reason you want them up there is because that's where your hands will be when you're riding them. So your hands won't be down by her side. So that's why it's good to have the Vienna reins go up to the D-ring to kind of simulate the contact when you're actually riding them. So this clip was probably my third time or second time riding her, but it was my first time riding her without lunging her first, and she was not very good. You can see I'm putting on my inside leg and taking and giving the contact with my inside hand. At first she's very, very tense, but she does settle down a little bit. She's a little bit softer-ish in the mouth. I know it doesn't look like it, but she's not, throwing her head up as much. She is listening. It just takes a little while for her to give to the pressure. So I'm just staying on the circle because it's very helpful to have a bit of an inside bend when you are wanting your horse to stretch down. Little bend, just they can't fight against you as much. You're stretching their muscles on the outside of their neck, so it's kind of giving a bit of a stretch and a relaxation. So yeah, it's a really helpful way to get a horse to stretch downwards. So you can see here she's kind of gotten it now. She kind of understands what I want her to do. And she's a good bit better. She's starting to stretch down a little bit. Every time she came around to my dad, she would tense up. So that's why when she's over this side, she isn't very good. But yeah, she was just being a bit spooky. So this is a couple of days later. I'm going to do a walk to trot transition here, and you can see that it is improving a little bit. Still not relaxed, obviously, but she isn't throwing up her head. She moved into the trot fairly nicely. This ride is quite nice in that she's soft. She's a lot more consistent. She isn't throwing up her head. This is the very start of the ride. I haven't warmed her up or anything. So this is her straight out of the stable or the field. But you can see that she is coming behind the vertical a little bit more, a little bit too much. And this is my fault, basically. So I was feeling that she felt soft, and I was like, oh, she's going great, whatever. But then when I looked at this video, I was like, oh no, she's really behind the vertical. And it was because I didn't really trust her to loosen my reins. So although she was giving to the contact, I wasn't allowing her to stretch. So that was the issue with this ride. She just stretched down a few times. She's not too bad, but I really, really want her to stretch that part of her neck in front of her withers, in front of the saddle. Whereas you can see there's a big arch in her neck. She's kind of curling it around and in, which isn't exactly what we want. You see like the established dressage horses going around with their neck kind of like this, kind of. But that isn't that's the end goal, but you can't just get that straight away. First, you need to get them to stretch and build up that muscle over their back, and then you start to collect a little bit more. Whereas she's kind of wanting to skip a few steps and just go straight to having her neck in a pretty position, but she's not actually working correctly. So although it looks nicer, it's still not exactly what we want. But you can see there is an improvement. She's a lot softer. She's a lot more relaxed. She's listening to me. There are moments where she's stretching down. She's also moving away from my inside leg a lot better. We did lots of leg yielding and walk to get her used to that and get her listening to me, because a lot of the problem with our walk to trot transition when she would get very tense is that she thinks that leg just means kind of go forward. Although she does know what leg yielding is, and she's been taught that, she just kind of, when you put your leg on, she tenses. Whereas I wanted her to just think about what I was asking her when I put my leg on, not automatically assume it means go faster. So this is the day before we went back to college and she went back to her owner. As you can see, her walk is lovely, but her walk was always quite nice. She was also always quite relaxed in the walk. It's just the minute you go to trot, she tenses up, which is a little bit frustrating sometimes. See here, she kind of spooked a bit of that filler, but her transition was still nice. I'm trying to give with my reins, be a lot softer and loosen out my reins if she wants to stretch. And you can see her neck looks a bit longer at least. And she's starting to stretch. Her trot is slower, her rhythm is slower, but she's still tracking up, so she's still working from behind. And she's just basically a lot more relaxed. You can see she's blowing there through her nose. You can just, have like a big sigh basically for horses. You can see that this is the day I did my high jump on Fiona. That's why that jump is there, and it's like ginormous. It's like way bigger than poor Kadie. I wouldn't fancy coming down on her. It's like jumping a pony over that height. But yeah, you can see she's stretching, she's relaxed. Still not obviously all the way there, but it is a work in progress. Ideally, you want her trotting around with her nose on the ground. Really nice stretchy trot, and then once she gets that and once she gets the strength, then you'll start to lift her up and collect her a little bit more. But it's just something that takes time. This is a really nice part of the trot work. She's lengthening her neck out and listening to me. You can see she isn't swishing her tail as much as she was. She used to swish her tail all the time. Now it's just the odd time if I put a bit of extra leg on, she'll swish her tail. And also my trot to walk transitions used to be absolutely awful, like even worse than the walk to trot, because she would just start trotting really slowly and like on the spot and then jog and wouldn't actually walk. But here you can see she actually went to walk. Here's another nice transition to trot. Yeah, no, I'm just really, really happy with the progress she made, even though this isn't the end goal. It's certainly a long way from where it was. Here you can see she's really stretching again. Actually makes me so happy to look back on this. At the time I was a little bit frustrated that we still weren't perfect, but now that I've watched these clips in order, I'm like, okay, no, we made pretty good progress in the few weeks we had. And I'm going to be going, Brona is the name of the girl that owns this horse. She's my roommate at college, so I'm going to be going and watching her ride maybe next weekend, and she's going to come and help me ride Fiona too. So I'm going to be getting some videos then, and I'll give you a little update to how she is now. We might be going to some shows together. I'm going to bring Fiona, and Brona will bring Kadie. So it'll be a lot of fun. It's nice to have a roommate that's also into horses. We come back from the yard and we just talk about what we did that day, and we give each other ideas and stuff. It's pretty cool. So here's the canter. I didn't do a huge amount of canter work over the few weeks I had her because there was so much work to do in the trot, and a lot of that would translate to the canter. But you can see that her canter is a lot slower. She is starting to stretch her neck. She isn't tucking it in as much as she was, but it's still not obviously a lovely loose canter. A lot of a big thing with her in the canter is just to let her go, and she will canter on quite fast when you do that. But if you hold her, she just shortens her neck and just does a very small little canter. Sometimes you need to lose a bit of control in order to get the control back, if you know what I mean. Here she's stretching. She's bending around my leg quite nicely. She has a nice little rhythm. She's not too tense. Her tail, you can see her tail is up. So she's stretching out through her back a little bit. Yeah, and she looks quite good. So I hope you enjoyed this little video, a little transformation video. Maybe it gives you some tips, maybe some inspiration for your horse if you're having a few problems on the flat. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Bye guys.